unionization. The labor movement grew through the awful Haymarket riots some years later, in which a number of people, most people think, were unfairly condemned. Some 7 people were convicted, and the proof was always pretty vague whether or not they were the anarchists who had set off this bomb that had killed some policemen in the Haymarket area of Chicago. 4 were hanged. 3 were later pardoned by the governor, Altgeld. And by 1896, Labor Day was recognized as a national holiday. So as we celebrate today or tomorrow with our hopeful families or whatever we're doing, watching golf, being in water, or getting rained upon, let's remember and celebrate the hard work of so many people laboring at that time and at this time, yet for the dignity of their human lives. And to, pardon me, and to realize that the fight with large corporations goes on in different ways today. This is not to get into that whole complex issue, but to say that the dignity of people needs to be respected, and just wages in our society is still a struggle. I'm struck by so many things in these couple of weeks besides Labor Day. Probably it's hard to know where to look. I go between an addiction to the news and a total rejection of the news. I want to see every morning what's happened, and every morning after a little bit of time, I think, I can't see that, I can't watch this anymore. We have to acknowledge, I'll use the word transition, in Afghanistan, and what a major step that is for our nation and for Afghanistan and for the world, but especially to recognize the fact that of the suffering of the Afghan people, in respect for our military who have served there, some 2,600 people who have lost their lives, over 20,000 injured, some 200 to 300,000 Afghanis who have died during this time, the uncertainty of what will happen next with the Taliban, the airlift with all of its pluses and minuses, and that will be reviewed for a long time, with the gratefulness that so many were able to escape and with the hope that others will still be able to, and with the commitment that we will be asked to make and should make as a nation and as a community to the Afghan people. As you know, perhaps, Catholic Charities and Interfaith Works are in the process of settling Afghani refugees here right now. Others might speak a lot more to that. And we'll be asked to help out in different ways or to volunteer in different ways. Jerry and I